Meanwhile, in response to Donald Trump's threat to impose harsh tariffs, European leaders are drawing the line in sand. French President Emmanuel Macron declared that Europe would not back down if its commercial interests were indeed threatened. Now, he emphasized the need for the EU to act with strength and unity. Meanwhile, Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz echoed this statement, insisting that while the European Union was prepared to retaliate, cooperation remained the goal. However, the stakes are high. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk warned that a trade would be a complete mistake, urging both sides to keep their focus on bigger threats from Russia and China. Now, these statements come right a day before, rather hours before Trump's planned tariffs were in fact supposed to go live on Tuesday, and now they have been halted or paused, at least to say, for 1 month. But it's yet still to be known that what awaits us. For more on this, we are joined by David Clay Johnston from New York. He is a professor of public policy at the Rochester Institute of Technology. Really appreciate you joining us, Professor, taking out time this early in the morning. My first question to you, get straight to the money. With the new 30-day pause, do you really think Trump is just trying to sort of buy time, or is he genuinely looking at a long-term solution?
Well, Donald doesn't think long-term strategically. I've covered the man for 37 years, and he just doesn't think long-term like that. What happened here is he blinked. Both Canada and Mexico made it clear they would take retaliatory actions that would be very damaging to American business. And so Donald, for the moment, has backed off. He's also starting to get kickback from Americans about tariffs because tariffs raise the prices not just of imported goods, but of any domestic manufactured good that is similar, because manufacturers within the U.S. would raise prices to almost the level of the tariff to good. It's really a scheme to take money out of the pockets of consumers and deepen the pockets of those who own manufacturing companies.
Well, I guess on yesterday's bulletin had something sharp to say. He said this is no way to even run a railroad, let alone international economy. On that note, my second question to you, Professor, how significant is this temporary pause? Especially given the looming uncertainty, even in global markets. We've seen Asian markets tank, the rupee is down. How important is this pause?
Well, markets will bounce around because Donald will bounce around. However, uncertainty is something business owners detest. And I've been a business owner as well as a journalist and a professor. You want certainty. And with Donald Trump, what you have is a lot of lack of certainty. And we're seeing a number of prominent American billionaire investors, Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, and others, pulling money out of the stock markets and putting it into cash, which tells you they think there's a big chance the economy will suddenly go south or the market will drop sharply, and they want to be able to buy back in at a lower price. And Donald's erratic behavior and uncertain plans contribute to that kind of thinking.
We've been speaking about Mexico and Canada, Professor, but it's not only Mexico and Canada. In fact, the European Union has also vowed a firm response to US tariffs. Now, how likely is it that the European Union or Europe will actually retaliate? And where does that matter in the bigger scheme of things, the larger scheme of things, in the US-EU relations?
Well, if Trump actually imposes additional tariffs, particularly ones that don't have some logical reason to them because of a specific industry matter, you can expect there will be retaliatory tariffs. That's how trade works when you get into a trade war. The European Union is not going to just let Trump have a one-sided attack on them. And keep in mind, Donald Trump has this bizarre idea that the foreign countries pay tariffs. They don't. Consumers in the country that imposes the tariff pay the tariffs. So you should absolutely expect the EU will in some way retaliate. They may do so in a very smart and sophisticated way, which is what I would expect, but they might also just put blanket tariffs on US goods, which will depress US exports.
taking from that last point you made, Professor, a very valid point, in fact, my last question to you, how might these proposed tariffs, in fact, impact American businesses in turn?
Well, the number one thing if tariffs are imposed is that American producers of the same or similar products will raise prices. Imagine you owned an Indian car company. You sold cars in the US wholesale for $10,000 each and $1,000 profit. Trump slaps a 60% tariff on Indian cars. Your cars will now cost $16,000. I own an American car company, David's Cars. I'm going to raise my price to $15,000 because your car now costs $16,000. And even if I sell only half as many cars, I'll make 3 times the profit because the tariff will increase my profit per car to $6,000 from $1,000. That's how tariffs work. Tariffs are important for developing countries. The US used them early in its history when it was a developing country. But for a mature economy like the United States, tariffs are simply a scheme to pick the pockets of consumers on behalf of the class that owns manufacturing companies.
Well, thank you so much for that, Professor. Only time will tell how Trump's gamble pays off. It's not looking too good at the moment.